Marc-O-Matic, thanks for joining us here. We're so ecstatic to sit down with you. We'd love for you to just introduce yourself, and we'll get started.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Marc-O-Matic. I'm an Australian-based AR and VR artist, designer, and technologist. I guess an all-rounder. So I create all kinds of experiential storytelling projects across AR and VR, and more notably the crypto art and metaverse space over the last 2 years. So really been diving into metaverse spaces, NFTs, and really trying to push the boundaries to see, what can be an NFT beyond just a JPEG. Can it be more than just it can be more than just an image. It can be much more experiential. So that's kind of what I've been trying to push for since being in the space since I think early 2020. So I'm very excited to be part of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're so excited that just seeing your work, following the work you've been doing, outside of the NFT space, your AR work is just incredible, and then seeing what you've been accomplishing with NFTs is just great. I mean, you're really a true trailblazer. So we're super stoked that you're so early on in this journey with us in MoNA. You've built such an incredible space. Your Imagineering Lab 01. We'd love to know more about like how you got started, where the idea came from.
Yeah, sure. I mean, initially the space was going to be called the Preliminaries Lab because a lot of my work starts off in black and white before you ever see any color or before you see any 3D. So, I think a lot of artists, a lot of collectors don't realize that my work starts off as an illustrated artwork on paper, and that's always in black and white with a biro pen and ink wash. And it's not until it goes onto the computer where it's all scanned and sort of wrapped around these 3D models, then it starts taking form and color and dimension. So those creatures you see in there, they're actually in other artworks if you look close enough, but they're all colored. So that space was kind of to represent that sort of that merger between the traditional space and the digital realm. So it's kind of a facility or a manufacturing space, if you will, to kind of represent how my works transform from 2D to 3D. I guess that's a kind of concept behind the Imagineering Lab, I suppose.
Wait, so these are all hand painted textures. You're not even digitally painting. These are hand like ink washes that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, even my face, everything I do, it's all ink illustrated. I mean, I really should show videos of it, but I guess I grew up in a time where the iPads were coming out, and I wasn't, I didn't really like the idea of drawing on glass or tablets. So I mean, to this day, I still draw on paper. Like it's all illustrated on paper. It's all freehand too, so there's no drafting. It's just a ballpoint pen, ink wash, and then I essentially just scan that in. I create a 3D representation of that original drawing, and those illustrations become the textures. So it's all hand drawn, and it's something I preferred to do for the last 10 years or so, even creating augmented reality work, and it's kind of a style I've stuck with. So yeah, it's just even the NFTs I sell to this day as animated works, they all come from illustrated renderings created on paper first.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. In terms of the 3D side, what kind of tools are you using to get, to go from 2D to 3D? What does that transition look like?
Yeah, it's quite a mixed bag, and I guess it varies from project to project. In most situations, I will I'll sculpt out. So I'll do the initial sculptings in virtual reality. So tools like Gravity Sketch are quite intuitive for me because I do a lot of hard surface modeling in Gravity Sketch. And then that gets transferred into Blender, which is essentially, if people aren't familiar with that, it's an all-rounder 3D application where you can do anything from modeling to animation, texturing, the works. And that's essentially where those illustrations you saw before get transposed onto my 3D models. All the animation, modeling, rigging for my creations then get transferred into Unity 3D, which is essentially where I build interactivity and essentially build that space that you've seen. And I guess those are the primary tools. I do use Unreal Engine, but for other projects as well. So for VR and AR, but for different use cases. So yeah. So Gravity Sketch, Blender, Unity, or Unreal Engine, again, depending on the project involved. So, sorry, I forgot to mention. Yes, Adobe Creative. So I use Adobe. I use Photoshop to import the textures in. I clean them up, refine them, and make them game ready. So I ensure the texture atlases are sort of appropriate for game development, and then they get imported into Unity to sort of texture the rooms.
Whatever you do is magic, it seems like, in a lot of sense. And so the Imagineering, the name certainly fits the build for this space. In terms of your, kind of artistic, style, it certainly kind of carries throughout a lot of your work. Can you talk a little bit about, almost like having that consistent style, and I guess a little bit more about your world that you're kind of creating.
Hand drawn has always been my signature, my passion. And it was only for a couple of years of getting into augmented reality. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, things kind of exploded for me. So I started, cutting out. I'll see if I can get you an image. Actually, this is actually how they all look. This is actually how they all look when I illustrate. So they're all cut out in a modular fashion, kind of in like an engineering schematic formation. And then from there, if you guys are familiar with, Monty Python's cartoons, how they're cut out little animations, that's kind of how my illustrations turn out. So they're modular in this fashion, and then they're transformed. So these are actually my texture atlases, which then get wrapped onto my 3D models. And I think a year or two in experimentation with game development and my illustration style. It allowed me to create my own signature, 3D illustrative aesthetic. So it's kind of like a snowball and evolutionary process. All my models are now covered in the illustrations. It's almost in a way of preserving that analog aspect of my work.
That's incredible. You touched on this a little bit, but so like Imagineering Lab 1 is absolutely phenomenal. I'm wondering, like, for some of the newer artists coming onto our platform, starting to build rooms, do you have any like words to the wise, tips, little tricks that might help them, achieve that level of quality? And
as much as artists like to sculpt and create these highly detailed and intricate works of art, of 3D art, I think it's really important to at least understand the environment that you're building within. So I tell a lot of artists that are, if they're using Medium or Tilt Brush, or if they're using any kind of 3D modeling tools, that it's really important to understand the rules of game development. So ensuring that your work not only looks great, but it can be optimized for web browsers, for VR headsets and stuff like that. So I really encourage artists to sort of not just be a creator, but a technologist at the same time. So creating beautiful works, but understanding how to optimize them, using the right textures, making sure that it runs smoothly across all kinds of devices, because you're not just a creator, you're trying to wear two different hats, being an artist and a technical artist as well. So I teach artists who are getting into AR or VR to explore engines like Unity 3D, Unreal Engine, look up tutorials to understand how to best practices on modeling, ensuring that the geometry is low enough, using compressed textures, ensuring that you work by power of 2. It's power of 2 or power of 8? Power of 2. Yeah, 1024, 2048, working within those constraints. So once they understand the fundamentals of game development, they can then better prepare their assets for these gallery spaces. So yeah, wearing 2 hats is very important.
Curious, what's sort of been your most meaningful experience that you've had in a virtual space or a virtual world to date?
I think it's been the ability to break apart from the traditional art space and really show what a gallery or or environment can really be without the rules of the traditional art world. I think to me, that's been quite liberating and exciting to explore, especially, I mean, obviously building a gallery for MoNA compared to presenting that work in, say, a traditional gallery with blank spaces. I don't think it would give it the same kind of wow factor, but to see it in its own rightful environment, a kind of science fiction, a sci-fi style kind of environment, sort of reinforces the work on display. That's what's exciting to me. I think that I think that the spaces are just only going to get better. And so again, I'm rambling. But for me, once I discovered NFTs and broke away from the traditional art space of showcasing in those spaces, it's opened up a whole lot of opportunities for me. So not just being able to display artwork, but have virtual festivals, meet up with people. The sky's the limit. So I'm only just sort of scratching the surface here of what can be done in the space. I don't want to just display art. I want to have, events, conferences, catch-ups, meetups, gaming experiences, all in this space. So I'm just really scratching the surface here.
We just announced the Filecoin Forum, and this is a build bounty to spur the creation and use of these 3D spaces. In your mind, what would you like to see others kind of create or build in these worlds that that maybe you haven't seen possible so far elsewhere?
I'd really love to see environments that encourage audiences to engage with each other. So complete strangers being able to engage and interact in activities and experiences in different ways. So I'm really interested in seeing worlds and environments that encourage play and interactivity. So extending beyond just a room to explore, but providing interactive elements that encourages audiences to engage in some kind of activity or some kind of form of play. Because you see a lot of, spaces like Decentraland and Somnium Space, they offer vast, beautiful worlds, but the level of interactivity there is kind of scarce to some degree, or that level of, being able to, engage with each other apart from just talking. I'd really love to see some really innovative and creative ways that creators can build interactive experiences or interactive installations that encourage audiences to work together to solve problems, or essentially to gamify these worlds to some degree, whilst still appealing to the art market, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we're also excited about, is exploring that more and providing a sort of like space for artists to introduce more interactivity and introduce more play into their work. And obviously your work is so like conducive to that as well. So I'm so stoked for the future. Are there any other like last words that you'd like to impart for artists, even aspiring artists and builders, or anything else that you'd like to mention that we maybe haven't touched on?
Yeah, sure. I guess, from traditional artists who are asking questions about the NFT space, I think it's really important to do your research and sort of educate yourself on what NFTs are and the different blockchains that are out there. I think not all blockchains are built the same. Considering there's been a lot of vitriol and negativity about artists being in the NFT space, I think it's really unfortunate, because it has brought a lot of people out of poverty. It's given people a lot of opportunities to shine in this world, creativity to shine, and also make profit from it. I think if you are going to dive into this space, at least study what the NFT space is all about. Also, if you want to start building your own environments, I can't stress learning about 3D animation and start learning about game development. So even just Googling up some tutorials and learning about Unity 3D, Unreal Engine, just don't be scared to sort of explore tools outside your comfort zone. I think the more the more skills you put on your belt, the greater your ideas sort of become, the more you can expand on your ideas and into different avenues. So even if you're even if you aren't quite good at 3D or game development, just at least give it a try and at least understand how the process, what kind of processes are involved in those spaces. Yeah, that's what I sort of encourage artists if they want to dive in.
I love it. Yeah, this has been amazing, Mark. Thank you so much for your time and for sitting down. This has been a real pleasure. And so yeah, can't thank you enough.
All right, pleasure. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.